is always a pleasure to introduce to you guys every week my awesome and amazing guest. This week's guest is Miss Kim Bady. Kim is the author of the book Authentically Me. It is a fantastic read. You have to see or read this book by author Kim Bady, Houston's own. So I can't wait till you join me on this segment of Let's Talk About It to learn more about my wonderful guest, Miss Kim Bady. Hello and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk About It with my amazing guest, Mrs. Kim Bady in the house. How you doing, Kim?
I am lovely. How are you?
She's always lovely. This is Kim 24/7.
No.
Always lovely, always
Thank
ready for the camera.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, first of all, for taking time out of your busy schedule to get here. I know we've tried to schedule a couple of times. You were ill, and then last week we had one of our camera people that was actually ill. So a lot of times we're delayed in things. There's a reason.
Absolutely.
But God's timing is perfect.
Always perfect. He's always right on time.
Always right on time. And you're here now, and that's perfect.
And I'm happy to be here, and I just want to say thank you for reaching out and having me on your show. I'm excited about it. Excited to be on.
Thank you, Kim. That means a lot. I appreciate that. You are a woman of many talents.
I do have a few.
You have a few. God has gifted her with quite a few talents, as a matter of fact. Kim is the author of the book entitled Authentically Me. And she's just recently penned a second book entitled
Word Power, Positive Affirmations for Children. It's a book that I co-authored with my son, who's 8 years old.
Wow, that she's co-authored with her son, Bryce.
Yes.
Right? Who's 8 years old. And Bryce actually appeared in my book entitled In My Lifetime.
Yay.
He was one of the models in that book. And that's kind of how Kim and I got to know each other a little bit better. And the thing about Kim is you never know. You just don't know. I mean, from one thing to the other. Now I understand that Kim actually has a publishing company.
Yes, I just started a publishing company. It's called Lakefront Press. And I started that for people who want to get their inspirational message out into the world.
Okay.
So it can be fiction, it can be nonfiction, but it has to have some sort of inspirational message. I know many writers out there, whether they publish poetry or whatever it is, I wanted to put together an organization that will help people, that's going to put something positive out there. There's enough of negativity out there in the universe. I really want to push people and encourage people to encourage people.
I think that's fantastic. And that's actually one of the platforms for my show, because I want people to be encouraged and motivated and inspired by not only myself on the show, but my guests like yourself. So I'm glad that you're in that direction. I think that's wonderful. Absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about the book Authentically Me. What was the motivation behind that book, Kim?
Oh, I love Authentically Me, and in fact, I love talking about authenticity. I think it is a universal message, and it is one that needs to be talked about over and over and over again. I started writing about authenticity after going through a big transition in my life. I was going through a divorce, and here I was, the picture of perfection. I was married to a minister, to a pastor. We had a mega church. He still does. He's still pastoring. But we were the picture of perfection.
Right.
And nobody thought nothing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And for years and years and years in the marriage, we just basically covered that up and would get out in front of the congregation and smile and hold hands, and we were the picture of perfection. But it was an illusion. Yes, he's a great man of God. Yes, he preached very well. But the marriage, what people could not see, it was in shambles. It wasn't good, and it failed. And so about almost 5 years ago, I walked away from a lot. I walked away from the big house. I walked away from all of the stuff. I call it the 3 S's: the stuff, the status, and the stud.
The 3 S's. I think you guys are probably going to remember that. The stuff, the status, and the stud.
So I walked away from all of that. But I went through this kind of crisis, this identity crisis, trying to figure out now, who am I without the stuff, the status and the stud, status and the stud. Now who am I, since I don't have all of that stuff? So I left my big home, and at that particular time, I went and stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment that was about the size of my master suite in my former home.
Wow.
And so my life completely changed, and I was asking that same fundamental question that we all ask ourselves at some time in our lives: who am I?
Absolutely.
And it was in asking those questions that God just took me on this journey of authenticity and showing me that first of all we got to remove these layers and labels of things that we use to define us in order to uncover the essence of who we truly are.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how the book got started and how this whole journey got started, was just trying to figure it all out. Who am I?
Yeah.
And many people go through that. I mean, whether it is transition, whether you are a mother now and you were not before, whether you are a mother who's going through the whole empty nest syndrome,
Right.
or whether you in that sandwich generation where you have an ill parent and you have young kids. There are so many things that we go through in life that leaves us at the place asking that question, who am I now?
Exactly.
Life changes, and we have to ask those questions.
And we have to change with life. And I think that's what makes us successful in life, when we're able to adapt to change.
Yeah.
And when we're not, sometimes where it's met with a certain level of friction, sometimes we can falter or just feel like giving up. But you didn't do that.
I wanted to. I was depressed. I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to pick myself up. I knew that there was a resilient woman in here, but I just didn't know how to access that person.
Right.
And so it took me a while. It took a journey. I would go sit at the lake. That's where Lakefront Press comes from. My company, Lakefront Press,
Okay.
because that's where I would get inspired. I mean, that's where I would hear God speak to me. I would
Wow.
go sit out on that water at that lake as many times as I could, and I just had to let it all out. I cried out there, I prayed out there, I meditated out there, I did yoga out there, and it was on the water where I heard God speak to me, and it was out there on the water where I began to see that I was more than the stuff, than the status, and the stud.
Wow. You know, Kim, one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, and I think I've expressed it to you before, you actually are a reflection of your book, Authentically Me. You're very transparent. You just tell the truth. You tell it the way it is. And so often when you're able to tell the truth the way it is, people can receive it better.
Absolutely. It's necessary.
It's necessary. And I think you've mastered the art of authenticity.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's definitely a journey. I think none of us arrive, but I think the more authentic we are, the more transparent we are, the
Absolutely.
more truthful we are, the more we can help other people.
Absolutely.
And I say this in my book, the older I become, the more important it is for me to live my truth than to merely live in the confines of perception and image. Because perception and an image, I mean, it has its place in our lives, but where we get kind of caught up and hung up is that we live in the confines of that.
Absolutely.
And you got to live your truth.
You have to live your truth. You know, one of the things that I remember reading in the book that really stuck with me, and it just resonated in my spirit, is that it's not my business what other people think of me.
Yes.
It's not my business. In other words, I don't really care what other people think of me.
Absolutely.
What's important is how we think of ourselves.
Right.
Is that
so
right?
True. That is so true. It was the best advice I could have ever received, and that's not taking things personally.
Yes.
And when we take it personally, we think that you know defines us.
Right.
If someone insults us, if someone said something negative about us, we internalize that. And
Absolutely.
so I've learned not to take that personally, because it's just not my business.
Because it's just not your business.
Yeah, not my
I understand.
business.
I like that. I like that. And you know what? I've actually adopted that attitude in reading Kim's book. You know, so it's not a book that's just for women. This book is for everybody. And I think it's so important that we're able to deal with our truths. You know, and I oftentimes say that your truth definitely has the propensity to set other people free when you tell it.
Yes.
Because it makes people feel like, you know what? I'm not the only one dealing with this.
It's needed.
I'm not the only one going through this. I'm not the only one experiencing these feelings. Whatever those feelings are for you. And you can personalize it for yourself. And that's why I appreciate Kim Bady with her authentic self. Was that a word? Did I make up something?
Yes, you did, but that's okay.
all right. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right? We talking about it. So sometimes when you talk about it, you just talk about whatever it is.
Get it out.
Just get it out.
Yes.
And I have run across so many people that have talked about Kim Bady, and that have talked about Kim Bady's book, and that love Kim Bady, and that love Kim Bady's book.
Aww.
And there's never anything bad. Everything is always good that I hear about Kim Bady. And actually what I hear in people actually mirrors what I see in you.
Oh, thank
So, and I'm just being truthful with you. You know,
Well, I appreciate that. And
yeah,
I'm just glad the people who have bad things to say aren't talking much.
exactly. And even if they were,
it's not
it's
my
not
business.
my business. All right.
Exactly. You know, based on their own belief systems and wherever they are in life, people think whatever they want to think.
And people will. Thanks so much. All right, we'll be right back with more of Let's Talk About It in just a moment. All right, we're back with more of Let's Talk About It with my wonderful guest, Miss Kim Bady.
Woo.
Kim, welcome back, baby.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. I'm having such a wonderful time interviewing Kim Bady. One of the reasons why I wanted Kim on the show was because she was a representation of her book called Authentically Me. This is a woman who is honest and true. She's genuine. She's transparent. She's beautiful on the outside.
I need to
as
travel
well as
with
this.
you.
Hey,
you need to be my announcer.
I got you. I got you covered. Just let me know. And that's the truth. I'm not just saying it because she's present with me today. I'm saying it because this is someone that I've gotten to know, and everything that I'm saying is the God's honest truth. So often when you meet someone that's a first lady, you don't get what you get with Kim Bady. You know, and I think that's one of the attractions to Kim Bady, because you're just honest and you're real, man. You know, you're transparent, and that transfers to people that talk to you, people that meet you, people that want to buy your book. I like her. I want to buy her book. She's real. She's authentic, and I think that's a big part of why your book is being the success that it is. And I know you told me that one of the reasons that you started writing the book was because of what you were going through,
what I'd gone through,
and dealing with. So what was some of the? Did you get any type of negativity having written the book and being a first lady, or having gone through that and been a first lady and being public with it? What was that like for you, Kim?
You know, I really don't pay attention to the negative stuff. So I'm sure there were things out there, and you know, people saying, "Well, she's changed now, and she's doing this and that and the other now." And I'm all about telling my truth and living my truth. And one of the things that I love to do, and that I didn't do as a pastor's wife, is that I love to dance. And everybody that knows me knows that I love to dance. And so with coming out with this book and talking about the real me, the authentic me, some of the things that I like to do, some of the things that I enjoy doing, people do have a problem with the freedom that I know. But I don't listen to it. In fact, someone told me that people were in the beauty shop talking about you, and I go, yeah, okay, that's good. Again, it's not my business.
It's all
what
good.
Other people think of me. So I really try not to pay attention to that. I really just focus on the message.
Yes.
The message of authenticity, the message of living your truth, and how important that message is. Because what I found in going through a divorce and going through all that I had gone through with being the first lady of the church, and then, you know, now going through my transition, being divorced, is that people are more comfortable with an illusion than they are with the truth.
Can you say that again?
People are more comfortable with an illusion than they are with the truth. And people were fine as long as I stood up in front of the congregation and smiled, you know, and stood up there with my ex-husband. As long as we looked perfect,
picture perfect, and it was good.
Everything was fine. But the minute that we let people know, you know, we are getting a divorce, I mean, it just shook everybody's world. And it was a sad day. It was a day where people cried. It was a day when people felt as if they were experiencing a loss.
Yeah. And
for some of them, it was like their own parents were divorcing. It's like
right.
They loved us both so much. It's like, who do you have allegiance to? And so during that's really when I got that inkling that people are more comfortable with this whole
with the
pretty
facade
thing, with the facade. They're more comfortable with that. But when you tell them something's not right,
they just not they're not able to handle it.
They're not able to handle that very well.
And I think a lot of times too, Kim, we get locked into trying to maintain what people see as perfect. And so we'll stay in situations or circumstances because it's a facade and it looks good to the public. When in essence, you're going through hell or you're going through pain and you're suffering because of it. And I think it's admirable when a person is able to recognize that and make the necessary change, which is what obviously has taken place with you, because you want to be happy yourself.
Yes, and you don't want to abandon yourself. And that's what I felt like I had done so many years. I abandoned my own self. I abandoned myself putting up with certain things and, you know, not being expressive in certain ways. And I think that's what we do when we fail to live our truth. We
Yes.
abandon who we truly are
Right.
for the sake of image, for the
Mhm.
sake of somebody coming along and saying, "Oh, you bless me,"
Yeah. Yeah.
for the sake of a compliment, or the
Mhm.
sake of just this notoriety. And then
Right.
I left all that behind, and it was a big shake up to my ego. I mean, it was a big
Okay.
blow to my ego, and I had to realize pretty quickly that
Okay.
who I was not attached, to
To
what
that
I had
circumstance.
and to that
Okay.
circumstance.
Uh-huh. And I can imagine it's difficult having a level of wealth,
Hmm.
of course, popularity, and all these things, and then having to make an adjustment, and
Major
a
adjustment.
major adjustment, and just being a human being. Oftentimes, when the world sees what we're going through, we always, it's like, oh, what are they going to say about me? And
Hmm.
we naturally have those thoughts,
Yeah.
but those are thoughts that you have to work through and
Hmm.
endure through and make it to the other side. And that's where you are. You're on the
Yeah,
other side
I'm on
of
the
it.
other side, and it feels really good. I tell you, when I embarked upon this whole journey of self discovery,
Hmm.
I thought it was just going to be about getting out there and finding out who Kim was.
Yeah.
And it was so much more than that.
Yeah.
And the whole message of authenticity, it starts off with the truth,
Hmm.
basically sitting down, telling the truth, living your truth, being
Right.
true to who you are wherever you are right now in this particular season of your life.
Yes.
I knew I wasn't in that same season as I
Okay.
was before. I couldn't go to Neiman's and shop in Saks and all of that and have my shoppers pull some stuff together for me
Hmm.
and all that. No, I was not in that season, so I had to be true to who I was, where I was that
Right.
particular time. So it starts with living your truth. It starts with
Yes.
being honest. But then the next level is a very spiritual place.
Hmm.
So I start off with honesty, and I'm looking, searching, and just on this whole road to self rediscovery.
Right.
And what I encounter is this spiritual place,
Okay.
because who we are is so much more than this flesh suit that we
Absolutely.
have. It's so much
Absolutely.
more than this hair.
Mm.
And I always say I cannot be defined by my hair because I'm
Okay.
going to change it tomorrow.
Okay. I am not my hair.
I am not my hair. As India Irie sings, I am not, we can't be this. We
Right.
can't be
Right.
these clothes.
Hmm.
And so we have to get to a certain point where we are detached from so many of this stuff. Like
Right.
it's great that we have it, and I like things, and I love things, and I like nice furniture, and I like nice cars, but
Right.
I can't attach myself to it to where it defines
Absolutely.
who I am. My authentic essence is spirit.
Hmm.
It's spirit. I'm created in the image and the likeness of God. And so this whole road of authenticity is taking me down a spiritual path that has just opened my eyes and caused me to, really want to get that message out to other people.
Right.
Because who we are is not about what we do. Many people
Hmm.
think that who they are, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm a lawyer, I'm this,
Absolutely.
I'm that, I'm an author, I'm this. And that's wonderful,
Hmm.
and that's great, but it doesn't describe the essence of who we are.
Right.
And so when we know who we are, we worry less.
Hmm.
You know, we don't put up with stuff
Right.
as much. I mean,
Hmm.
we don't take things personally
All right.
because we realize who we are.
Yeah. And I oftentimes say, for myself, I know what I don't deserve.
Right.
And I don't deserve to be disrespected. I
Right.
don't deserve to be mistreated by anyone,
Mhm.
nor will I allow it. So when you know who you are,
Who you are,
and you know what
yes.
you don't deserve,
Mhm.
you operate a little bit differently in life.
So true.
And not everybody understands that. Kim, I'm enjoying this dialogue
Me
so much.
too.
And when we come back, we're
Fun
going to talk a
stuff.
little bit more about your second book
Yay.
that you've actually co-authored with your
My
son,
son.
Bryce.
Yes.
In just a moment, we'll be right back with more of Let's Talk About It. Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk About It with my wonderful guest, Ms. Kim Bady. Kim, when we left off, we were talking about, we talked about Authentically Me,
Yes.
which is the book that has really gone off the charts, and everybody's talking about Authentically Me. But from what I understand, you have actually co-authored a second book with your lovely son, Mr. Bryce.
Yes, Mr. Bryce. He is the joy of my life and the love of my life.
Oh.
And he's 8 years old, and so we wrote this book, and it's called Word Power: Positive Affirmations for Children.
Okay.
And what's so interesting about the whole way that it got started is that we do affirmations at home all the time.
Okay.
We do them before he goes to bed. He used to have nightmares, night terrors. And so I would always say, okay, Bryce, let's repeat this. I always have peaceful sleep. And so he would repeat that, I always have peaceful sleep.
Wow.
I always have sweet dreams. And he would say that. And then he'd also say, I always wake up revived, rejuvenated, and energized. Before he would go to school, he would say, I always do my best. And so we say these affirmations, and I've just seen just a great turnaround in his life, in the way that he sleeps, in how he wakes up in the morning.
Is that right?
And so these affirmations, they not only are just words, I mean, affirmations are statements, but they're more than statements. They get down into your subconscious.
Yes.
You repeat them over and over again. Whatever your desired outcome is, you repeat that over and over again. And it's more than words. It starts to sink down into your subconscious, and
Right.
it becomes a part of your own belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So we do them at home. And what happened was, one day, Bryce took my cell phone. You know, these kids, they think
Very
that your
cell
stuff
phone
is,
savvy.
yes.
Yeah.
So he takes my iPhone and he makes a voice memo, and it was this beautiful, beautiful affirmation, just a list of affirmations. And he was just going on and on. I am smart. I am intelligent. I
Wow.
am blessed. And it touched my heart. And then he ended it with, and I am who I am. And it blessed me so much. I was in tears. Now,
Wow.
I wanted to choke him because he deleted one of my voice memos.
Okay.
To do it, but I was so excited that this is, really, really catching him, and he's really, really grabbing hold to it. So I decided, well, Bryce, let's put these affirmations in a book, and so that's how Word Power was birthed.
Wow, is that right?
So he inspired the whole thing.
He inspired the whole thing. You know, you've heard that the phrase go, or the word from in the Bible, actually, where it's out the mouth of babes.
Yes.
You know, and this is certainly one of those situations where I can't help but to think about.
Yes,
that.
Absolutely, and he does that to me all the time. He's always teaching. He's 8 years old, but he's a teacher. He teaches me, and I
Wow.
think that when you are present in life,
Mm-hmm.
you can pay attention to just so many ways that God teaches us, through our children, through nature, through so
Right.
many things. But I'm just so blessed by Bryce, and he's very intuitive, very gifted, very intuitive
Okay.
child, and he's always teaching me something. The other day he taught me, me and a friend of mine, he told us the reason why people are mean is because they are afraid. Yeah, so he's an interesting kid.
Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes he'll listen to what I'm saying, and then he'll turn it around back on me. And one day I was walking into the store, and I saw a car that looked like belonged to somebody that I knew that didn't think very nicely of me, and we had a little conflict. So yeah, there are those people out there that don't think very well of me. There's a couple.
Well, there's something wrong with them.
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
And that's so true, because oftentimes when we have a fear about something, we will operate thinking that what we're thinking can actually happen.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it could be the farthest thing from anything that's going to even remotely happen. But sometimes we create it within ourselves.
We create it, and then it starts to manifest in the physical. You break out in a sweat, or you
All
get
that.
nervous, or
It ruins your day.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can just ruin your
completely.
entire day. So we have to, I guess, again, back to, we have to be careful of what we allow in our eye gate,
That's true.
in our ear gate.
Absolutely, because then that settles in our subconscious and ultimately our belief system.
Absolutely.
So we do these whole affirmations all the time. I do them every day. I have them posted on my mirror.
Is that right?
Just little statements about who I believe that I am, because we forget.
Right.
And we always forget who we are, and what the indication that we've forgotten who we are is that some of the things that we wind up doing in life, some of the choices that we make.
Yes.
It's like, okay, no, you have forgotten who you are.
Absolutely.
So when Bryce gets out of the car, if I drop him off or if he's going to ride the bus or whatever, I always tell him, don't forget who you are. Never forget who you are.
Wow. That is so important. And you know what? I think that's one of the links that's missing with our children today. A lot of them don't know who they are. And because you don't know who you are, you oftentimes make decisions. You make a temporary decision that has a lifelong effect. So we have to pay attention to the choices that we make, because they can affect us our entire life.
It's so true. It's so true. Our children need so much guidance now, and I mean they always do, but really right now to really show them who people. We need to spend time with these kids, showing them who they are, showing them, opening up the Bible to them, showing them who they are, praying with them, showing them who they are, showing them that they are more than this. Because they get it twisted a lot, you know, and think that they have to have the latest this, that, or the other to be significant. And so it's just so important that we introduce them to a spiritual lifestyle very early on, and not just wait until they get a little bit older, but introduce that to them early on. I tell my son all the time, God is just not out there. He's in there.
Absolutely.
He's with you all the time. You are never alone.
Absolutely. You know what? You just really touched on something that everything you're talking about has great significance. But when children don't know who they are and they make certain choices, one of the topics that's really dear to me that I'm seeing so much in the news is about the Michael Jordan shoes and the young African American kids that are killing themselves over Michael Jordan shoes. Why are you doing that? Because you don't know who you are, or you don't know what your value is without this. Like Kim said, I am not this. I am not that. I'm so much more than that.
Too. It looks all. It looks good.
It looks nice. It look all right. But I am not my clothes.
But you're not. Yes, absolutely.
And so when we can teach kids to appreciate who they authentically are, then some of the decisions that they make won't, it won't destroy their lives. So what you're saying is so true. And I hope that the book that you have co-authored with Bryce reaches these children so that they can make a difference in their lives.
Right.
Kim, what are some of the ways that you're looking forward to in exposing the book so that they can educate a lot more kids and get more broad and just what are some avenues that you're thinking about for that?
Definitely the schools. I want to go into the school system, and I also want to do daycares and things of that nature, but I want kids to get this message and want to basically reach them where they are. So if you have any ideas, please let me know.
Okay, maybe we can just have a little powwow and come up with ideas and all that, because we can just and I got some things that are in the works too, and so maybe you can kind of talk to me about those things that we can just kind of. I think the word says we iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna be able to cut some things.
It's all about collaboration.
Absolutely.
It's not competition. It's all about collaboration.
Absolutely. And that's so important. There you go. And when you know who you are, you can operate that way. Kim, thanks so much for joining me on this edition of Let's Talk About It. I've had an amazing day today with Miss Kim Bady, and I certainly look forward to you coming back in the very near future. And for more information about Kim Bady, her book, and what's going on, you can reach us at letstalkaboutit22@gmail.com. Thanks so much, and until next time, we'll see you then.